The hunting grounds of Sector 7 were known across 3 star systems for their exotic prey. Kale Varen had tracked creatures through the methane swamps of Corvix Prime, cornered apex predators in the crystal canyons of Daros, and brought down beasts that would make lesser hunters flee in terror. His reputation was built on one simple principle: everything had a price, and everything could be hunted. The human homeworld, however, was different. Kyle stood at the edge of what the humans called a savanna, his chromatic scales shifting to match the golden grass around him. His 4 eyes scanned the horizon with predatory precision, each lens filtering different spectrums of light. The contract had been simple enough: retrieve specimens of Earth's fauna for a private collector in the Outer Rim. The bonus payment for capturing a juvenile human specimen had been substantial. Had been tracking the small human cub for 3 solar cycles now. The child, no more than 5 rotations old by human standards, had wandered from its pack during what appeared to be a migration ritual. Easy prey. Kale had seen the parents' distress from a distance, watched them search frantically before moving on with their group. The cub was alone now, vulnerable, perfect. Kale adjusted the neural dampener on his plasma net launcher. Non-lethal capture. Clean and professional. He began his approach, each step calculated, silent despite his towering 2-meter frame. Then he saw Tavi. The creature was small, barely reaching the height of Kale's lower knee joint. Its black and white fur rippled in the hot wind, and it moved with a peculiar waddle that would have been comical if not for the absolute fearlessness in its gait. Kale's database implant flickered to life, scanning the animal. Mellivora capensis. Common name, honey badger. Threat level, minimal. Kale almost laughed. The small earth creature had positioned itself between him and the human cub, who sat crying beneath an acacia tree, unaware of the danger that had been stalking him for days. Move. Small thing, Kale growled in Galactic Common, though he knew the animal couldn't understand. This is not your concern. Tavi didn't move. Instead, the honey badger's eyes locked onto Kale's, and something in that gaze made the veteran hunter pause. There was no fear there, none of the panic flight response he'd seen in thousands of creatures across hundreds of worlds, just pure distilled defiance. Kyle raised his weapon, intending to simply stun the animal and move past it. That's when Tavi charged. The small creature moved like liquid violence. It crossed the 15 meters between them in heartbeats, claws extended, teeth bared, releasing a guttural snarl that seemed far too large for its body. Kyle fired, but Tavi twisted mid-leap, the plasma net scorching the air where the honey badger had been a microsecond before. The creature hit Kyle's leg with the force of a small vehicle. Claws designed to tear through beehives and termite mounds raked across his armor. Finding gaps, drawing purple blood, Kale stumbled back, shocked not by the pain but by the sheer audacity of the attack. He kicked out, sending Tavi tumbling across the grass. The honey badger rolled, came up running, and charged again. Kale fired twice more, missing both times as the creature zigzagged with impossible agility. When Tavi reached him again, the honey badger went for his weapon hand, teeth clamping down with crushing pressure. For the first time in his long career, Kale Varen felt something he hadn't experienced since he was a juvenile on his home planet. Genuine respect for prey. He could have killed the creature easily. One well-placed shot from his sidearm, one stomp of his armored boot, but he didn't. Instead, he watched as Tavi released his hand and retreated to the human cub, placing itself once again between the child and danger. The honey badger was bleeding from where it had struck Kale's armor, favoring one leg, but its stance was unwavering. The human cub had stopped crying. Small hands reached out, touching Tavi's fur with innocent trust. The honey badger didn't flinch, didn't take its eyes off Kale, but leaned slightly into the child's touch. Kale's combat analysis subroutine ran the scenario 17 different ways. Every simulation ended with successful capture. The honey badger was brave but small. The human cub was defenseless. The contract money was enough to fund his retirement, but Kale found himself lowering his weapon. He thought of the stories other hunters told in the guild halls, tales of Earth, the death world where everything evolved to survive against impossible odds. He had dismissed those stories as exaggeration, the kind of tall tales hunters always told. But looking at this small creature, this Mellivora capensis with its threat level of minimal, defending a member of another species with absolute commitment, Kale realized the stories had understated the truth. This wasn't just courage. This was something bred into the very genetic code of life on this planet. A refusal to yield. A defiance against anything that threatened the vulnerable. The honey badger didn't care that Kale was larger, stronger, better armed. It had decided the human cub was under its protection, and that decision was absolute. Kale had hunted sentient species before. It was a dark part of his past he didn't discuss. But he had justified it by telling himself he only hunted those who couldn't defend themselves, who had no true warrior spirit. He had been wrong. Strength wasn't about size or weapons or technology. The human cub smiled at Tavi, babbling something in their primitive language. The honey badger made a soft chittering sound in response, though its eyes never left Kale. The hunter slowly holstered his weapons, raising all four of his hands in a gesture of surrender. "I understand now," he said quietly in Galactic Common. "I will not hunt your kind. Either of you." Tavi watched as Kale backed away step by careful step. Only when the alien was 30 meters distant did the honey badger relax slightly, turning to nudge the human cub with its snout, guiding the child in the direction its pack had gone. Kale Varan returned to his ship that evening and voided the contract. The financial penalty was severe, but he accepted it without complaint. He updated his personal database, marking Earth and all its species as forbidden territory, not because they were too dangerous to hunt, but because they had earned his respect in a way no other species ever had. And he realized that if a small creature like Tavi could teach him about true courage, then humanity, who had evolved alongside such guardians, deserved far more than to be prey. They deserved to be left alone to grow, to reach the stars on their own terms. Because when they did, Kale suspected the galaxy would never be the same.